Okay, I'm back with another video. The last video I uploaded, it hasn't been uploaded yet, but it's the vlog, so hopefully that'll be up before this video comes out. But I wanted to do, I keep seeing TikToks on like books for people to read who are like in a reading slump, and these are just also my recommendations. I have most of the books here, but everything I wrote is on my laptop. I have 13 like actual books, and then I have like 2 self-help, I guess, books. I'm gonna start with like my mystery and thriller and psychological thriller books here. I have 4 of them. Okay, so for thriller and like mystery books, I have 5 in total, but right now I only have 4 on hand. The first one, I'm gonna go for the one that took me out of my reading slump. This is, again, if you like, these are all fiction, so I'm just gonna like preface that because I don't know, I just, in case anybody thinks that's nonfiction, these are fiction. This one, The Woman in the Window, I'll put up a picture as well, by AJ Finn. It was adapted to a movie, and I read this before I watched the movie because I don't know, I just always wanted to read this, and this book actually got me out of my reading slump. It was it was so good. I'll read the back of it after I'm done talking about it. I should have made more notes on it. It's like 400 pages. The like blurb in the back is, it isn't paranoia if it's really happening. Anna Fox lives alone, a recluse in her New York City home, unable to venture outside. She spends her days drinking wine, maybe too much, watching old movies, recalling her happier times, and spying on her neighbors. Then the Russells move into the house across the way, a father, a mother, their teenage son. The perfect family. But when Anna, gazing out her window one night, sees something she shouldn't, her world begins to crumble, and its shocking secrets are laid bare. Was it real? Was it imagined? Who was in danger? Who was in control? In this diabolically gripping thriller, no one and nothing is what it seems. So she has agoraphobia. Like, she spies on, again, the family next door who just moved in, and she lives like in a really nice townhouse, and she spies on them through her Nikon camera because that's all she can do, because she is too afraid to like step outside. She's even too afraid to like go and get her groceries from her tenant. So he brings them inside for her. But we learned to uncover, like, because she starts like in a chat room with people who have agoraphobia, and she messages with this older lady who has her sons and her daughters and whatever, and she lives like out in like the middle of nowhere. But it's not who Anna thinks it is. It's not who any of the readers think it is. Unless you're really good at like puzzling pieces together, then you'd probably figure it out as you read it, but I didn't really get it, so that is my first book. The second book, In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth, Ware. This book has been through it. This is also a pretty good book. It's pretty mild. I mean, The Woman in the Window was also pretty mild. Like, it didn't really keep you on your seats. Maybe it did like towards the end, but this one didn't. It's very, I don't want to be mean, but it's very predictable. That's all I can say. So Nora is the main character in this book, and she gets invited to a bachelorette party from her like kind of friend, but she doesn't really like the said friend, and she doesn't really like any of the other girls that were really invited, but they got invited to go to like some cabin in the middle of the woods, and it just goes down. Again, very predictable, but I think this is also a very light read if you're not really like into a lot of thriller or mysteries. I feel like this is a very good start to that. The next one is The Perfect Marriage. I feel like this is also pretty predictable. It's a very short read, I think it goes by very, very fast. The characters, however, it's dual point of view, so it's from the wife and the husband's point of view. Both are very infuriating because the man the husband in this book, he's very like mask, but spoiler alert, he's an author and he doesn't really have like pop-in books, you know, like he don't got that type of skills, okay? Let's just say he ain't got that type of skills to like actually have a book popularly published. I will say I did finish reading it and I did tab some stuff, which I can actually read. If you don't want to read it, I'll put up a time thing if you don't want me to spoil or whatever, if you want it. Oh, it's The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. Sorry, I'll put it up here. But yeah, personally I didn't really like this book because in the beginning all they talked about was like, and it was very, very, very annoying. And all the characters in here, they have very like basic names, like even last names. Okay, so the husband's name is Adam and the wife's name is Sarah, and their last name is Morgan, which I think is just a very like plain, those are plain names. But basically the man goes into an affair with a girl named Kelly Summers, which again, the name is also, I don't know, all the names in here are very just bland. Sorry. I will say though, Sarah's a lawyer. Sorry, she's the breadwinner in this relationship, and she's always constantly at work, and she doesn't want children, but they live in a big house, and they bought like a countryside house, I guess, and that's where Adam spends most of his time, and that's where he brings his mistress. And he's only cheated on one girl, well, on Sarah with one girl, and Kelly Summers is found dead in their vacation home, and Adam is the first suspect to go, and he ends up going to jail. He's the only person that ends up going to jail for the murder of Kelly Summers. Out of all of the books that I have, I will put this one last. It was kind of written not the best, I don't know, but it's a very short read, very predictable read as well. But I will read some of the tabs that I have for this book. I don't have any tabs for my last two, and then the one coming up. I just recently read this, so at this point they're fighting. Sarah is investigating Adam because she's his wife and she's a lawyer, or she's an attorney. Okay, Sarah's saying this. Yes, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's one avenue we can pursue. Now, did you ever meet Scott? Scott is Kelly Summers' husband, who is a sheriff or the deputy at the prison that Adam is being held at. And Adam says, no, but I didn't have to know what type of man he was. And what type of man is that? I bite at the end of my pen. A bad one, says Adam. And what does that make you? My eyes narrow. Ah! Like oh my gosh, she ate him up with that one. Ah! Adam is infuriating, and his mother is just as infuriating. She doesn't play that much of a big character, thank God, but Adam is infuriating, and he is such a guy. Like he's such a guy. I hated reading his point of view, and enough of this book. Okay, next book, The Silent Patient. I don't have any tabs on here. This book was so good. I really recommend it to it. I know some people don't like this book, but I really liked it. And if you're starting to get into thrillers or psychological thrillers and mysteries, I really suggest this one because I think it's a very quick read. It's 300 pages. Not that pages matter. But it's The Silent Patient by Alex Michaels. Sorry, I keep forgetting to show y'all. Mainly in the point of view of criminal psychotherapist Theo Faber. It was really good. I also think it was kind of predictable because once you get into Theo's point of view, deeper into the story, I feel you can kind of piece things together on what happened. But I don't know. I really recommend this book. The writing style of it as well is very, very, very good. I think it's so good. There's a lot of like foreshadowing, and I think it's just like, I don't know, I'm just biased. I really like this book. And then the last book is Verity by Colleen Hoover. I don't have it with me. I know that Colleen Hoover is a very like controversial author, but you have to admit her books are very good. I think she's a very good writer, and all of her stories, like, they're pretty fast-paced without being fast-paced, if that makes sense. At least from the books that I've read, and I've only read, I think, 2 or 3 books from her, but in those 2 or 3 books, like, they were very kind of into it, and it's very interesting. So if you haven't read Verity, it's basically about an author, Lowen, who ghostwrites for another writer, and Lowen and the other writer write very similarly. Like, their writing styles are very similar, and they also write the same genre, which is kind of like horror kind of stuff, right? So she ghostwrites for the author, which is Verity. She literally, like, she lives at their house, at Verity's house, and Verity has a son, and she also had 2 daughters, but they are passed, and her husband, and she basically, like, it's a mind. Sorry, I'm not explaining it well. I should have prepared notes beforehand, but I also think that's a very easy read. Again, it goes very fast-paced without being super fast-paced, if you know what I mean. But once you get into it, you get into it. But then, like, once you get closer towards like the end and the middle, like, you like stop reading. I remember I took many breaks reading that book because I just like kept like, it just like messed you up. And that one, to me, I don't know why, but I was like sitting here and I was like getting like I don't know, I just felt it in my soul, and it was just so like scary. I don't know what, not scary, but like spooky. I don't know. But yeah, it your mind a lot. So if you don't really mind, you know, I would say go for it. Very easy read, very well written. I'll just get into my, I think this is a nonfiction book, Before We Were Free by Julia Alvarez. I think I really like this book. I cried reading it. It's a very short read, so I think it's worth it. You can finish it in like an hour. I actually gave it to my friend, and she also cried, and she's not a reader, but she read this and it messed with her. So good. So the main character in here is Anita de la Torre. Sorry. But she lives in the Dominican Republic, and the Dominican Republic's government is very like terrorist-y. Sorry, I don't like wanna, but yeah, I was debating on rereading this one too. But anyway, so she lives in the Dominican Republic, and at the time during the 1960s, she gets faced with like the government of the Dominican Republic because they're after her father and her brother, and she kind of just like, we go through her mind of living through kind of like the scariness of this book. Is so good. It's not inappropriate at all from what I remember, again, because again, I read this a long time ago. It's a really good book. Again, really short read, finished it in like a day, you know, a couple hours, maybe like 1-2 hours. Gave it to my friend, she cried. It's so good. But yeah, it's not inappropriate, I don't think. So I think it'd be good for kids who are younger, like middle school, even maybe elementary school, but middle school. Also, this is from the point of view of a 12-year-old girl, so obviously she doesn't know what's going on. But I recommend this book so much, especially if you're sentimental and emotional. I would say this does have a happy ending, I will say. I will get off with the ones that I don't have right now. The first one is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Historical fiction, it's fantasy, it's based on like Greek gods. Song of Achilles, I know this was on TikTok as well for like a while. Genuinely, I think it's such an easy read, especially if you like Greek gods. It is LGBTQ plus novel, so I guess if you don't like that, don't read it. But if you're, I don't know, if you don't want to read an LGBTQ plus novel, what are you doing here? Why are you watching this? But it was so good. It was so good. I also think this is pretty fast paced. The middle does get kind of slow, actually, from what I remember. I don't have it with me. It revolves around the Trojan War, and our main character, Patroclus, meets with Achilles, the god, but they travel together to complete their mission and continue fighting in the war. But it's a very sad book at the end. Again, if you're a very emotional person, I think you like a good cry, I think it could make you cry. I'm just an emotional person, so I don't know if it'll make you cry or not, but I definitely cried. It was very sad. I don't have it with me today, but I really like this book. As overhyped as it is, I think it's deservingly overhyped. Back to Colleen Hoover. I have It Ends With Us. Very, very, like, this was peak COVID, year after COVID, I don't know. But let me tell you, it's so good. It does deal with very triggering topics like sexual assault, harassment, like misogyny, that kind of stuff. So if you don't want to read those topics, then don't read this book. It does get pretty heavy into it, especially because it's kind of a flashback story. Like, it flashes back to when she was a child. But the main character in here is Lily. We kind of watch her grow up with these two love interests. She has a baby with one of them, but that's like later in the story. So I haven't read the second book to this, but I think it is really well written. She's a very hard worker. This takes place in Boston. I don't know, it's just so good. So she falls in love with the main love interest, Ryle, which we are not Team Ryle. Sorry, this is a spoiler. If y'all haven't read this book, where are you? But like, hashtag not Team Ryle. We love Atlas, but the only time that there is another love interest, or the past love interest that like teenager Lily has, is when we start reading her personal letters or listening to her personal letters. But she keeps her like manuscripts locked away from Ryle, so that Ryle doesn't know, because we don't like Ryle, but he's a neurosurgeon, so, but he's like that frat neurosurgeon, you know what I'm saying? So next book I have is If You'd Been With Me by nowlin. This one I did tab up quite a bit. So sad. So sad. It's a childhood to lovers story, and it all takes place throughout high school, so it's kind of like coming of age story, but it's romance. It's mainly she doesn't really like find her way through life. It's just her. The main character's name is Autumn, and her childhood best friend's name is Finn, but we don't see Autumn really going through life with life, you know, like it's not really that kind of situation, but it's more so just like the relationships that she has with Finn and her current boyfriend and all of her friends and Finn's friends, because they're childhood friends. And personally, I don't really like childhood friends to lovers, but this is kind of childhood friends to strangers to lovers, which I absolutely love that trope. I don't know why. I don't like straight childhood friends to lovers. I don't know, I just don't like it. I will say the ending, it was predictable, but that didn't stop me from crying anyway. Finn, as they get closer to graduate, Finn and Autumn grow closer together, and then they both realize their feelings for each other have always been there. However, they're both in relationships, and they've both been in relationships since, I think, freshmen, maybe sophomores. If you like childhood friends to lovers, I would recommend this. It's not really two lovers, because it's very short-lived. It's just, it's so good. It's so good. I think this is a very good book for middle school going into high school type of kids. There aren't really intimate scenes. There are, which I don't know, like obviously they are, because they're in high school, and obviously like they're horny teenagers, so of course there's probably going to be some type of intimate scene, but it doesn't get too much into it until the end. For the most part, this is such a good book. I think this is very kind of, I don't know, I feel like at times it can get very fast paced, but at other times it can be very slow and like raw, and like you just feel it. I think this is also very TikTok popular, but I agree with it being TikTok popular. Kill me, sue me. Okay, my next two books I don't have with me. Sorry. The next one is Normal People by Sally Rooney. One is definitely more mature because this takes place from high school into college. I really like this book. It's a very short book, so I do recommend it for those of you who are trying to get into reading. I think it's a very good book to read, again, in like an hour or so. Way more mature than, you know, this one. But our main characters are Connell and Marianne, and they basically just like, they kind of grow up together, but they're not really friends, but then they end up hooking up one night, and then they just like keep hooking up regardless of, you know, if they have partners at the time. But I think they go to the same college. I don't know, it's been a while since I read this one too. They went to the same high school, and then they went to the same college, and they kind of just grow up with each other, and they will end up learning that they are perfect for each other, and that they have changed each other for the better so that they can mold, because they've always been meant for each other. Even when they first started hooking up, they kind of deep inside knew that they were good enough for each other, you know? This one was a roller coaster as well. Very short read, very fast pace, 10 out of 10. I recommend. Then the last one is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I just finished reading that book. I actually took a break from reading that book, and then I finished it, and I'm so glad I did. I will say, in the beginning, it's very, very slow paced, and it's an enemies to lovers book. I know y'all love your enemies to lovers. Okay, I am personally, I don't know, everybody's like, enemies to lovers has been like so overhyped now, which I'm just like, ugh. Like it, I don't really fuck with enemies to lovers as much anymore. I like the angst, you know. I like to cry. I like to read strangers to lovers or childhood friends to strangers to lovers. I don't really like exes to lovers or I love lovers to exes, but like it just has to be written in a certain way. Anyway, Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Enemies to lovers, very slow pace for the first like half. They do kiss, but they don't really do anything other than kissing. They don't have until the very end, and oh my god, I posted on my story, but they didn't like officially have until chapter 30. Anyway. Okay, so the main character, is Nora Stevens, and she's like editor, but she works like with books. Okay, so Charlie Lastra is the male interest. Okay, they kind of work together because he's a publicist, I'm pretty sure. don't sue me if I'm wrong. Okay, they end up falling in love because Nora's sister Libby takes them out on like a girls trip for like I forgot how long, but a while, in some like countryside, very not country, but it's North Carolina, a little town, you know, where everybody knows everybody. Like they went on a vacation there, and it's just Libby and her unborn child, I guess, and Nora. However, she ends up meeting Charlie Lastra on this trip because he is originally from there, and he runs his mother's bookstore in the area. There is another love interest who is, not to spoil, but is Charlie Lastra's cousin, and that gets a little spicy. Because like, ooh, because he's jealous, you know? It's like growing relationship between her and Charlie, but also her and her sister, because her and her sister are close together more than anything because their mother, who has passed away, but she was kind of like a failed actress in New York City, and they've always grown up in New York City, and Nora has always taken care of Libby, even as in like a motherly kind of way. And it's just like, We see her relationship grow with her sister, and the realizations come with her sister, as well as her feelings for Charlie. And it's so heartwarming, and she cares for everybody in her family, and her family cares for her as well also. It's just so heartwarming. There isn't really that many spicy scenes. Very slow pace, let me tell you. At least for me, it was a very slow pace. I think that's why I stopped reading it. But let me tell you, I don't think I've read any other Emily Henry books, but that one is definitely really, really good. And I know Emily Henry is like, so I follow her on Instagram. She is a very, very good writer, author. It was written very beautifully, and I loved it. Next is my TBR list. So the things I have here, I only have 2 books that I can think of, but this one is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Knox Morgan doesn't tolerate drama, especially in the form of a stranded runaway bride. Naomi Witt is on the run, not just from her fiancé and a church full of well-wishers, but from her entire life. Although if you ask her, Naomi's riding to the rescue of her estranged hot mess of a twin, Tina, to knock me out. A rough around the edges town where disputes are settled the old-fashioned way, with fists and beers. Usually in that order. Too bad for Naomi, her evil twin hasn't changed at all. After helping herself to Naomi's car and cash, Tina leaves behind something unexpected. The niece Naomi didn't know she had. Now she's a guardian to an 11-year-old going on 30 with no car, no money, and no plan. There's a reason this bearded bad boy barber doesn't get involved with high-maintenance women, especially not type A romantic ones. But since Naomi's life is imploded right in front of him, the least Knox can do is help her out of her jam. And just as soon as she stops getting into new trouble, he can leave her alone and get back to his quiet, solitary life. At least, that's the plan. I think this is also very TikTok rated. I did see some reviews on this, and they were very 50-50. It is a pretty thick girl, you know. I guess it's dual point of view, which I kind of love dual point of view, but a lot of people get mixed reviews on that, but I feel like I'll like it. I don't know. I feel like I don't really dislike a lot of books unless they're like actually really, really bad. That same thing goes with movies, so I couldn't tell you if a movie was good or bad unless it was really, really, really bad. So next book is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I actually started reading this. I'm on chapter 3 right now, by Stieg Larsson. Sorry, I'm just saying it wrong. I kind of like it so far. It's a little bit boring. The prologue was very boring. The first chapter I think was also very long, which I know for a lot of people long chapters are very much a turnoff, which is a turnoff for me too. But The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo combines murder mystery, family saga, love story, and financial intrigue into a complex and atmospheric level. Harriet Wenger is a Sharon in one of Sweden's wealthiest family and disappeared over 40 years ago. All these years later, her aged uncle continues to seek the truth. He hires Michael Blomqvist. Sorry, this takes place in Europe, so these names I cannot pronounce. A crusading journalist recently trapped in a liberal conviction to investigate. He is aided by the pierced and tattooed punk prodigy Lisbeth Salander. Together they tap into a vein of iniquity and corruption. Next one, A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I want to read the entire series. That has been my #1 TBR list, like, ever. It's always #1. I think it will always be #1 until I read the series. Next is the self-help books. I wouldn't really call them self-help, but when you get stressed and you get angry, there's no way for you to let them out besides maybe punching things or screaming or whatever, okay? But I found that writing out your feelings and writing out what you feel, your anger, whatever, helps a lot. And it helps even if you're just stressing just about your future or even your past. Writing about it helps you get it off your chest so much, and you just feel so much lighter. At least that's how I go, because I know y'all be writing in your notes when y'all are angry or sad or frustrated or whatever, okay? But I have 2 here. to share with you. The first one is Burn After Writing by Sharon Jones. These I actually both got as gifts, which thank you, because they both came from the same person. But I love these books. There's prompts to these, so if you don't like prompts, I would say just get a notebook and write on like your feelings. The one word I would use to describe the relationship with my father. The one word I would use to describe the relationship with my mother. I did answer these ones, but I will not say them out loud. Right now, at this moment, the thing I want the most is money. Okay. If I could make one thing vanish forever, it would be my stress. Which, girl, that's still standing, so. I really needed these because I was in a very, very, very bad time of my life during my senior year, because just like so much shit went down, and having these actually really, really helped me kind of, not so much as let it go, but I guess kind of forgive. Obviously you're never gonna forget what happened. I'm also the type to forgive but not forget. Next one, Story of My Life by Jason Mustain. I'm so sorry, but it's also a very short book. It's a very tiny book, but they have like a little blurb, I guess, here, and then the prompt is here, and then you write your answers here. So this is the one that I sticky noted. Who are you terrified of disappointing? Who have you already disappointed enough that you have adequately lowered their expectations? This is so sad. And then the little picture on the side says, choose your own adventure. I can either disappoint you traditionally, or we can develop a customized plan that fits your needs. Which is so sad. Okay, the picture first. Easy 30-minute meals. A cookbook, by which I mean a list of nearby places that offer DoorDash. What expectations set by others or yourself are driving you insane? How can you reasonably lower them? Which, if there are, I've done this a lot too on my other one in my car, but I underline the questions, because if there's more than one question, if I can't answer a question, then I'll underline it and I'll be like, I'll answer it later if I ever have an answer. This was, I don't remember this, I also think I got this during Christmas time. Expectations set by myself. First set by my mom, drives me insane. Oh, I think it's all about school and education, and as much as people say grades don't define you, they really do to me, and I have no other way to describe that. With graduation coming up and college applications, I get too terrified to think about what would happen to me if I didn't get into colleges far away enough for, honestly, my family, which is really sad. Which I could have written more, but this was like during Christmas, and I was waiting for my applications to come back, my letters to come back. I feel like I'm already tired tomorrow. A memoir. That's the picture. The prompt says, what situation or person is guaranteed to exhaust you every time? Talking about school or my family in general makes me feel incredibly exhausted most days, yet those two topics are always on my mind and pick at my brain the most. Okay. Damn, I'm so sad. Oh god. Okay, well, I think that's enough for today. I think I overshoot a little too much. But I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope you take all my things with a grain of salt. Sorry I didn't explain these books well enough. I'm very not good at talking, and I'm not good at really explaining things about books, which I should have written things down, like blurbs and whatever down, so I can talk about it, but I impulsively decided to record this at 9 o'clock, and it's currently 10:53, so I've been filming for an hour now. If you guys have any book recommendations, whether that be, I mean, I'm open to any genre. Just let me know, send me TikToks, comment them. I don't know how many of y'all are going to, but I'm gonna head to sleep, so bye.